Hello and welcome to K News. This is Hardik Trivedi. Let's have a look what is happening in India and in the world. Iran's Revolutionary Guards blasted a mock-up of US aircraft carrier with missiles on Tuesday during military exercises in sensitive Gulf waters, state television said. The exercises were held near the Strait of Hormuz, a vital shipping lane for a fifth of global oil output. They were staged at a time of heightened tensions between Iran and its decades-old arch enemy, the United States. Footage of the war games broadcast on state television showed the Guards, air and naval forces readying for an attack of the country's southwest coast. The mock-up of a Nimitz-class aircraft carrier came into view with rows of dummy fighter jets on either side of its landing strip. The television then cut to rockets being fired out to sea from the backs of trucks before showing damage to the hull of mock-up aircraft carrier. Another missiles fired from a helicopter left a trail of smoke before appearing to smash into the side of the fake warship. New Zealand on Tuesday announced that it will follow the lead of its intelligence allies by suspending its extradition treaty with Hong Kong. The move comes in response to China passing a sweeping new security law for the semi-autonomous territory. New Zealand is the final member of the Five Eyes intelligence sharing alliance to take such actions after the US, Australia, Canada and the UK previously announced similar measures. New Zealand relies on China as its largest trading partner and in the past has often tried to avoid direct political confrontation. China each year buys billions of dollars worth of New Zealand's agricultural goods, including its lucrative milk powder, which is used in infant formula. But Foreign Minister Winston Peters said the new law went against commitments China had made to the international community. New Zealand can no longer trust that Hong Kong's criminal justice system is sufficiently independent from China, Peters said. He said there would be another changes to the relationship. New Zealand would now treat military and technology experts to Hong Kong in the same way as it treats such exports to China, he said, and had updated its travel advice to warn New Zealanders about the risk they faced under the new law. Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said New Zealand was following its principles. We do have a mature relationship with China, Ardern said. There have been occasions where we have taken different positions. This obviously will be one of them. The Enforcement Directorate on Tuesday conducted searches against GVK Group and Mumbai International Airport Limited and others in connection with alleged irregularities to the tune of rupees 700 crore in operating the Mumbai airport. The multi-location searches were carried out at 9 premises in Mumbai and Hyderabad under the provision of the Prevention of Money Laundering Act, officials say. The agency's search operation covered the offices of the GVK Group, MIAL and the premises of GVK Group promoters. The ED had filed an enforcement case information report on July 7 under the PMLA after taking conscience of a recent CBI FIR filed against the same set of individuals and entities as money laundering is a predicate offense. The ED is probing if genuine funds were laundered to create proceeds of crime and amass personnel assets by illegal routing of funds by the accused. The ED and CBI case pertain to the alleged siphoning of rupees 700 crore from a funds of MIAL, a joint venture under public-private partnership between the GVK Airport Holdings Limited and Airport Authority of India. Besides, other investors by showing inflated expenditure, under reporting of revenues and fudging of records. On April 4, 2006, the Airport Authority of India had entered into an agreement with MIAL for the modernization, upkeeping, operation and maintenance of the Mumbai airport. Delhi Cabinet has rejected the panel of lawyers proposed by the Delhi Police after observing that the courts have already raised serious questions or fairness of investigations done by the Delhi Police in the riot cases. The decision was taken by the Delhi government in a cabinet meeting held on Tuesday to decide on the matter of appointment of a panel of lawyers in the Supreme Court and High Court for cases related to riots in Northeast Delhi. Keeping in mind the principles of the criminal justice system and the need to ensure independence between investigation and prosecution, the Delhi Cabinet has directed the Home Department to form an impartial panel of the best possible lawyers in the country for the cases related to Delhi riots, the government said in a statement. The Cabinet also observed that in such a situation, a free and fair trial of these cases would not be possible by a panel of lawyers selected by the Delhi Police itself. The Cabinet has also noted that various sessions courts and media have questioned the role of Delhi Police during the riot and its investigation, keeping the fundamental principle of any criminal justice system in mind. The Delhi Cabinet has observed that under such circumstances, it is not possible to expect a free and fair trial by lawyers appointed by Delhi Police. The Cabinet of the Delhi government has noted that the investigating agency should be not allowed to decide the lawyers. The Congress on Tuesday alleged that despite the government claiming that it has banned Chinese companies from working in India, the which has worked in Pakistan also. Congress spokesperson Pawan Khera alleged the government has facilitated backdoor entry for the Chinese company for such a sensitive work in Jammu and Kashmir. The party at a press conference further alleged that Dongfang company is active in various countries and has special relations with Pakistan. The company has worked in Pakistan's Nandipur power project and is known for making software and hardware for radio frequency technology. The company, which has got the work in J&K to install smart electric meters, has given its work to Dongfang, which is Chinese company, and reports to the Chinese army and the government. The tender has been given by the Power Ministry under Rural Electrification Program, Khera alleged. According to the documents shared by Congress, the company has to install 1 lakh smart meters in Jammu and another 1 lakh in Srinagar. But in the smart meter, that important component like radio communication system, the nature of work and the geographical region make it a sensitive issue, and when it is done in Kashmir, it will be a national security issue, alleged Khera. There is a threat that with all the data with the Chinese company, this may create a blackout, Khera said. In a statement, the Congress said that when the entire world has a threat of cyber attack, then we should be cautious in handing over such sensitive work to Chinese companies. The Indian Navy has deployed a large number of frontline warships and submarines in the Indian Ocean region in the wake of the border row in eastern Ladakh to send out a clear message to China, according to top defense sources on Wednesday. A source said the message has been registered by China. The defense sources told that the government adopted a multi-pronged approach involving the Army, the Indian Air Force, and the Navy, as well as diplomacy and economic measures to send out a firm and clear message to China that its misadventure in eastern Ladakh was not acceptable at all. They said the three service chiefs are engaged in deliberations on a regular basis to ensure a coordinated approach in dealing with the situation. They said the reason could be the PLA's Navy's exercise, deployment of resources in South China Sea, following the strong opposition by the US to Beijing's expansive territorial claims in the region. The US sent a number of its warships to the South China Sea to demonstrate freedom of navigation and rallying support to countries which have territorial disputes with China over the region. The Indian Navy is also ramping up its operational cooperation with various friendly naval forces like the US Navy and Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force in view of the fast evolving regional security landscape. In the recent weeks, the Indian Navy has conducted exercises with the US, French and Japanese navies in the IOR, which were seen as sending a signal to China. Moments after the 5 Rafale fighter jets landed at the Indian Air Force's Ambala Air Base on Wednesday, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh said the arrival of the aircraft in India would give the IAF's combat capability a timely boost and make it much stronger to deter any threat that may be posed to our country. Singh, who had travelled to France last year to formally receive the first fighter jet, showered praises on the multi-role aircraft for its capabilities and Prime Minister Narendra Modi for the decision to buy 36 fighter jets. Singh also packed in a sharp, even if veiled message to China's military. Beijing has been sure to carry out a complete disengagement of troops as agreed between the two sides in several rounds of military and diplomatic talks. Besides, the army has also reported that the PLA, which thinned out its troops in the forward areas, had mobilized nearly 50,000 troops in the depth areas. I would like to add, if it is anyone who should be worried about or critical about its new capability of the Indian Air Force, it should be those who want to threaten our territorial integrity. Rajnath tweeted and posted a video clip of the Rafale jets landing at the Ambala base of the Indian Air Force. It's time for a short break. We'll join you in a short while.
వేసవి అవుతుంది ఫన్ విత్ కూలర్ నంబర్ 1 ఇక చేసుకో మోర్ ఫన్ ఉంటే కూలర్ నంబర్ 1 ఇక డోంట్ రన్ ఫ్రమ్ ద సన్ ఉంటే కెన్స్టా నంబర్ 1.
Welcome back to K News and thank you for watching. Let's continue the streak of news. The country's largest car maker Maruti Suzuki India on Wednesday reported standalone net loss of rupees 249 crore for the first quarter ended June 30 on account of lower sales due to coronavirus-led lockdown. It has posted a net profit of rupees 1,435 crore in April-June of 2019-20. Maruti Suzuki India said in a statement. Its net sales during the period under review declined to rupees 3,677 crore as compared to rupees 18,735 crore in the year ago period. During the first quarter, Maruti Suzuki India sold a total of 76,000 vehicles. Sales in the domestic market stood at 67,000 units, while exports were at 9,500 units. The company's first priority was the health, safety, and well-being of all employees and associates across the value chain, including its customers, the automaker said. Hence, with carefully designed safety protocols which went far beyond the compliance levels, the production in the whole quarter was equivalent to just about 2 weeks of regular working. The results have to be viewed in this context. Rajasthan Governor Kalraj Mishra on Wednesday for the third time returned the state government's proposal to convene an assembly session and asked for concrete reasons to call a session on short notice in this odd and difficult situation referring to the coronavirus pandemic. He suggested calling a regular monsoon session on a 21-day notice. Soon after, CM Gehlot called for a cabinet meeting. The Rajasthan government wants to have an assembly session from July 31. The cabinet note sent earlier to the governor did not specify if the chief minister will seek a trust vote during the session. In his last message on Monday, the governor said only a written request on the trust vote as an agenda of the session could form the basis for calling the House on short notice. Before that, the governor had suggested a 21-day notice period to convene the House, sought clarity on the session's agenda, and advised live streaming of the floor test in case it was held, and also asked about COVID-19 related precautions in the assembly. The Gehlot-led cabinet, which met on Tuesday, had claimed Governor Mishra did not have any locus standi in stipulating conditions to hold the session. The cabinet asked Mishra to abide by its proposal and claimed the failure to do so would be unconstitutional. It also asserted that the agenda of the session will be determined by the Business Advisory Committee of the House. It was the Speaker's domain to decide on social distancing norms in the Assembly. Hong Kong's economy shrank by 9% from a year earlier in the latest quarter, hurt by coronavirus pandemic and facing more potential damage from the loss of US trade privileges due to a security law imposed by Beijing. The performance reported Wednesday for the 3 months ending in June was an improvement over the previous quarter's 9.1% contraction, the biggest since the government began reporting such data in 1970s. Hong Kong, a center for trade, finance and tourism, already was struggling before the coronavirus prompted the government to impose travel curbs and restrictions on business. Tourist arrivals fell following protests that began in June 2019 over a proposed extradition law and expanded to include demands for greater democracy and other grievances. The territory also faces further trouble after Washington withdrew its special trade status in response to Beijing's imposition of a security law that will tighten control over the former British colony. The Trump administration said Hong Kong would no longer be treated as an autonomous trading area that could result in more scrutiny of goods bound to and from the United States, eroding Hong Kong's competitive edge against mainland Chinese and other major Asian ports. The Hong Kong government has launched stimulus programs, including most recently a handout of 10,000 Hong Kong dollars to all adults. In a dramatic hearing on Wednesday afternoon, the Supreme Court warned IIT Bombay of contempt proceedings if it carried through its intention to withdraw from a government project to install a smoke tower to control air pollution in the national capital. In a sternly worded rebuke, the court said it would punish the institution for backing out of the project. 6 months after a visit by IIT Bombay and Tata Project Limited officials, and a draft MOU was drawn up by the CPCB in January. I cannot tolerate this nonsense. We will punish IIT Bombay and other authorities for delaying court orders. How can they back out after 6 months? How can they back out from a government project? I will draw up contempt case against them, Justice Arun Mishra said. IIT Bombay had written an email on July 14 in which the institution said it would not be able to accept conditions laid down in the MOU, such as taking responsibility of overall coordination and verification of works to be carried out by Tata Power Limited. The email come a day before a meeting was convened by the ministry to discuss with IIT Bombay and CPCB officials issues connected with the project. In December last year, the top court gave the centre and the Delhi government 3 months to set up a smoke tower at Delhi's Connaught Place. At that time, the centre filed an affidavit saying it would take at least 6 months to set a tower up under a pilot project. India is witnessing the return of a worrying trend of greater tolerance for loose lending and provisioning practices, which risk putting on the same path that took Japan to the lost decade in 1990s. Former central banker Viral Acharya said, certainty with COVID shock and as highlighted in the RBI's financial stability report, the bad loans are likely to mount to 12 to 15% region. Mr. Acharya, who resigned last year as the Deputy Governor of the Reserve Bank of India, said in an interview, given all that, Japanification is a serious concern and the way out of it is to raise capital in the financial intermediation sector. The time is now. The ex-central banker was referring to Japan's experience in the 1990s when a weak banking and financial sector crippled activity and contributed to a lost decade of subpar economic growth. The RBI sees the country's bad loan ratio swelling to the highest level in more than 2 decades to 12.5% by March 2021, the highest level since 1999. If macroeconomic conditions worsen, the ratio may jump to 14.7%, among the highest in major economies. The country's private banks have been racing to raise capital in recent weeks, while state-run lenders have been laggards. The government has infused rupees 2.6 lakh crore into state-run banks in the last 3 financial years, more than double that in the previous 9 years. But there is no provision for capital infusion in the budget this year. Either one of the mother tongue or the local language will be the medium of instruction up to class 5 in all schools, the government said Wednesday while launching the National Education Policy 2020. Among other changes in the revision of the NEP last done over 3 decades ago is the extension of right to education to cover all children between 3 and 18 years of age. The policy also proposes vocational education with internships for students from class 6, a change to 10+2 schooling structure and a 4-year bachelor's program. NEP 2020 will bring 2 crore out-of-school children back into the mainstream, the government has claimed. Prime Minister Narendra Modi tweeted saying he wholeheartedly welcomed the policy, which he called a long due and much awaited reform in the education sector. The mother tongue or local or regional language is to be the medium of instruction in all schools up to class 5 according to the policy. Under the NEP 2020, Sanskrit will be offered at all levels and foreign languages from the secondary school level. However, the policy also says no language will be imposed on any student. This point is likely to be viewed warily by many after controversy broke out in June last year, after the draft NEP was seen by many southern states as an attempt to impose Hindi on school students. Night curfew has been scrapped altogether, and gyms and yoga institutes that are not in containment zones have been allowed to reopen in Unlock 3, the third phase of lifting of coronavirus-related restrictions across the country, declared by the government today. But restrictions remained in the place all other spheres that involve large gatherings, be it educational institutions, public parks or cinema halls. The announcement came as India lodged more than 15 lakh coronavirus cases and the daily spike in the cases grew close to 50,000. Most states, especially those which have had a large spike in cases, have imposed lockdown on and off over the past month. In the fresh central guidelines issued today, the government said schools, colleges and educational institutions will remain shut till the end of August. Metro Rail Corporation, cinema halls, swimming pools, entertainment parks, theatres, bars, auditoriums and other places which involve large gatherings will also remain shut. Independence Day functions, however, will be held with strict protective measures like social distancing in place, the government said. Lockdown remains in place across all containment zones, the extent of which will be decided by the states and union territories. That's all for now. Keep watching K News. This is Hardik Trivedi taking your leave. Be alert, be positive, be safe.